Hello, and a very warm welcome to all the students from Europe Hotel School. I'm so glad you're here. We're about to dive into something that's honestly at the very heart of running a successful hotel: the numbers. My goal today is simple: to help you get comfortable with the financial side of hospitality, because believe me, understanding this stuff is what's going to set you apart in your career. All right, let's just jump right in with the big question, right? When you look out there, the hotel industry is, well, it's incredibly competitive. There are so many moving parts. So, how do the really great hotels, the ones that are always at the top, consistently come out ahead? The answer might actually surprise you with how simple it is. The best hotels, they don't just sit on piles of data, they understand it. They have this incredible ability to look at a bunch of raw numbers and see a story, a strategy. That right there is the secret sauce. And that's exactly what we're going to pull apart today.
So, to really get this, we've got to look beyond just the standard balance sheet. Now, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely essential. But on its own, it's just a list of figures. It doesn't tell you the why behind the numbers. We need something more. We need tools that give those numbers meaning.
And those tools are what we call financial ratios and key performance indicators, or KPIs, as you'll hear them called all the time. I want you to think of KPIs as a translator. They take the, sometimes confusing language of finance and translate it into a clear roadmap for the operations team. They're what lets you actually measure your performance, see how you stack up against the competition, and most importantly, make really smart decisions. Okay, so we've covered the why KPIs are so critical. Now let's get into the what. We're going to walk through a few of the absolute must-know metrics. Seriously, if you're going into hospitality, these are the numbers you'll live and breathe by. First on our list is the gross operating profit margin, or just GOP margin. The easiest way to think about this one, it's like a health checkup for your hotel's day-to-day operations. It basically answers the question, for every dollar that comes in, how much are we keeping as profit before things like rent and taxes? It's all about how good you are at controlling your costs. So take a look at this chart here. You can see this hotel is hitting a GOP margin of 45%. Now, is that good? Well, when you see that the industry average is sitting down at 38%, yeah, that's a fantastic result. The takeaway couldn't be clearer. Higher is better. A strong margin like this is a sign of really effective management. It tells everyone you're running a tight, efficient ship. All right, let's talk about another absolute powerhouse metric: RevPAR. It stands for Revenue Per Available Room. And honestly, you could argue it's one of the single most important KPIs in our entire industry. And here's why. It gives you a complete picture. It's not just about how many rooms you sold, and it's not just about the price you sold them for. It blends the two together to show you how good you are at making money from your most important asset, your rooms. And the best part, the math is super simple. It's just your occupancy rate times your average daily rate, or ADR. Boom! That one number gives you such a powerful, clear snapshot of how well your hotel's performing. But of course, to really get RevPAR, you have to get its two main ingredients. The first one is simple: occupancy rate. It's exactly what it sounds like. What percentage of your rooms are full on any given night? It's a really basic but crucial look at demand and whether you're making good use of your property. So when you see a number like 85%, like in this chart, that's a pretty clear signal that demand is strong. But the real magic happens when you track this number day after day, week after week. That's when you start to see the patterns, the seasonal trends. It tells you if your marketing campaigns are actually working. Now, those are the big ones, but there are definitely a few others you need to keep in your toolkit. Think about labor and food cost percentages. These are usually your biggest expenses, right? If you let those get out of control, your profit can vanish in a heartbeat. And then there's something called the current ratio. This is all about liquidity. It basically asks, can we pay our bills this month? It's a vital sign of your hotel's financial stability. See? Each one of these gives you a different angle, a different way to see what's working and what's not. All right, so we have all these amazing metrics, but so what? A number is just a number until you do something with it. This next part is where the magic happens, where data actually becomes strategy. Let's talk about putting these KPIs into action. Really, it boils down to two main things: benchmarking and tracking. Benchmarking is all about looking outward. How does our RevPAR compare to the hotel across the street? That tells you where you stand in the market. Tracking, on the other hand, is about looking inward. How does our performance this June compare to last June? That helps you spot trends, set goals, and see if you're actually improving.
And what this creates is something we call the cycle of continuous improvement. It's a loop, and it's incredibly powerful. You measure everything with your KPIs. Then you benchmark. How are we doing against others and against ourselves? That context helps you spot the opportunities. Maybe you realize, hey, our weekend occupancy is way behind our competition. So you implement a new strategy, maybe a weekend package. And then what? You go right back to step one and measure again to see if it worked. It never stops.
And this brings me to maybe the single most important point I want you to remember today. Context is everything. A single KPI all by itself is almost meaningless. If I tell you your hotel has a 75% occupancy rate, okay, is that good? I have no idea. But what if I tell you it was 65% this time last year and your main competitor is at 80%? Ah, now we have a story. Now that number is telling us something about growth, about market share, about opportunity.
So let's bring this all together. What's the ultimate point here? It's that mastering these KPIs isn't just a math exercise. It's not about being a numbers person. It's about gaining a real, tangible, strategic edge in a tough business. This truly is the heart of it all. When you master these financial ratios, you're doing more than just crunching numbers. You are transforming them into powerful insights that drive action. It's the skill that separates a manager from a true leader. It's about looking at a spreadsheet and not just seeing data, but seeing a story, and then having the wisdom to use that story to shape the future. So as you step out into your careers, I want to leave you with one final thought, one question to always keep in your back pocket. Whatever you're doing, always ask yourself, what story are my numbers trying to tell me? And maybe even more importantly, how am I going to use that story to win? Thank you so much for your time.